Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Star Cub Review. I'm your host, as always, Star Cub. And on tonight's agenda, I thought I'd do a simple one, an easy one, and that is a video defending the 2010 remake, or essentially reboot as such, for A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, I know this is probably going to be controversial and, you know, oh my god, he likes the 2010 remake, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I really dug it. I liked it. Was it, like, great cinema? No. By no means was it great, was it absolutely fantastic, great cinema. But it was a good film. It was a good film. The horror elements were there, the, eeriness, the chills running down your spine feeling, and the really dirty feeling that this Freddy Kruger is nasty, is downright evil, is just plain fucking evil, and that's what I liked. He did have a bit of a comedic edge, not as much as the original films did, but everyone keeps comparing this film to the originals, and it's nothing like the original at all. Nothing like them. Robert Englund's version of Freddy Krueger, different. Jackie Earle Haley as Fred Kruger, fantastic. His version of Fred Kruger on the screen was fantastic, because he made me feel dirty and gross, and I wanted to take a bath, I wanted to take a shower, I wanted to scrub myself. Because you knew that what these teenagers experience, and when they find out that what Freddy Krueger did, it is downright dirty. It is gross. He actually is a child killer. And he did some unspeakable things with the kids, especially main character, of Nancy Holbrook, played by Rooney Mara, who did a fantastic job as this version of Nancy. So, you know, I mean, honestly, I don't get all the hate for it. It was a completely different version. This Freddy felt more realistic as well. Extremely realistic. Looked more like a burned victim. Rotting flesh and stuff like that, and was just downright evil from the word get-go. Rooney Mara as Nancy Holbrook, fantastic. Carl Gellner as Quentin Smith, fantastic. Loved those two. Jackie Earle Haley as Fred Kruger, fantastic. Praise his role. Absolutely loved his version of Fred Kruger. Katie Cassidy as Chris Fowles. She was good. I liked her. And I kind of wish we had seen more from her. But she was great in the role that she played. Thomas Dekker as Jesse Braun. I didn't like Jesse Braun at all. I don't like Thomas Dekker. I can't stand him as an actor. I think his acting is so wooden and stilted. He's not a great actor. Didn't like his role in it. I thought he was just a complete dick in the film. Did not like him at all. I can't. There's something about Thomas Dekker that I just don't like, and I didn't like him in this. And I really didn't like him in the Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles. I thought he played John Connor. I didn't like him in that role either. I thought he was really bland, really unoriginal, just no. As an actor, I don't find him fascinating. There's nothing about his acting that's great. It was just plain to me. It was pretty boring. Kellen Lutz as Dean Russell. Did an alright job for what it is. You have Clancy Brown. He was amazing. Connie Britton. What we saw of Connie Britton. Yep, she was amazing. It was an all-round good film. I enjoyed it. The kills were inventive. The way that he enters, you can switch between the nightmare world and the real world, and you see it happening simultaneously in both, is absolutely fantastic. I loved the transition between the two, into the nightmare world and the real world. Fantastic. It went outside the box with some of its kills and the story per se, and the way that it was told. Not a one-for-one as well, which I absolutely liked. It took elements from the original but expanded on them, made it its own, and it was a completely different story without even using any of the original characters and their names, which was fantastic. I liked that. And I honestly feel like so many people shat on this film, not really taking into consideration and looking at it in a completely different way, that this is a completely different Nightmare on Elm Street film. It's got nothing to do with the originals. It's different. It was playing more into the modern age in the 2000s more than the 80s. I mean, I love the 80s. Don't get me wrong. Nightmare on Elm Street, all the original Nightmare on Elm Streets, fantastic, except for 5 and 6, which were absolutely horrible. But from 1 to 4, they were fantastic. I absolutely loved those films. I adore those films. I adore the 80s. 80s Nightmare on Elm Street is so much more different to 2000s horror. 2000s horror was completely different from 90s horror. There's all different eras of horror which were fantastic. 2000s, they had some great horror, but then there was some other horror mingled in the 2000s that was not up to par. And I feel like a Nightmare on Elm Street remake actually did a great job for being a 2010 film. Is it like, you know, yeah, it's up there with Wes Craven's original? Yes and no. Some things are done better in Wes Craven's, and some things done better in the remake. But they're completely two different films. And the way Freddy kills his victims in the 2010 one is completely different. Was done differently, completely different. And the story was told differently, rather than do a one-for-one, it like the original, without it fully explaining why the parents did what they did, and see flashbacks of them killing Freddy and stuff like that. So this one, the 2010, actually did a much better job, and I feel like it doesn't get the credit that it deserves. Some of this film does have plot holes. It does. And I will say that because I'm not lying. It does have plot holes. Especially the ending. The ending, while the ending is great, the ending is very, very confusing. Like, it doesn't justify in the way the ending plays out, and why exactly they went that route. And I've analyzed it and analyzed it and analyzed it, and I feel like there is some stuff missing to make it make more sense. In the original, it's a very deep dive into the original as well, and the original, it played so well, and you could interpret it many different ways. And there's been lots of theories over the years as to whether Nancy was dreaming the entire thing and it was just one big fucking nightmare that she'd made up. And one says that Nancy is everything that happened in the film was real up until the last 5, 10, 15 minutes of the film, and she's been dreaming that entire last bit. And then another theory is that she unwillingly dragged her mother into her dream, which sets up the big premise for Nightmare on Elm Street 3, in which Kristen pulls people into into her dreams. And that's actually a very, very good theory, that Nancy's mother unwillingly got pulled into Nancy's dream by mistake, and Nancy, because, she loves her mother and stuff like that, her mother wasn't all nasty, wasn't all mean and whatnot. She was just trying to help her daughter, and I feel like that's where she pulls her mother into the dream, because as we find out, her mother's drunk on a bed and she's set on fire, and Freddy set her on fire. So you could say that they were both asleep at that time, and that last 15 minutes of the film where she's running from Freddy Krueger in the real world and stuff like that is a dream, and that she unwillingly pulled her mother in at the end, believing that her mother is still alive, when in actual fact, right at the end, you could interpret it one of two ways: that it was Nancy's dream, and that her mum has unwillingly become a victim of Freddy's. Or the other theory is that it's her mother's dream, and she's dreaming that none of this happened at all, and everything is grand, and her daughter's fine, and everything like that. And then she waves them off. Notice she doesn't pay any attention to the fact that at the end, Freddy Krueger's jacket flips over the top to make the hard top of the car, and then drive off as they're all screaming, and she's going, "Mother! Mother!" And then suddenly Freddy comes out, pulls through the window, and she screams, and that's the ending. And it's 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. That theme song as they're driving off. So you could interpret that that is her mother's dream. But I tend to think that it's Nancy, and Nancy has pulled her mother unwillingly into her dream, and essentially she's become part of it as well, and Freddy is able to get her through her nightmare. So it's very, very fascinating. Whereas in the 2010, it's not explained, the ending, that when Freddy is revealed at the end in a mirror and then pulls her mother through her eyeballs and whatnot, it's not exactly explained very well how it get to that point. It's very confusing where that ending actually is about. Why that they went that route with that particular part of the ending, and that's where it gets a little confusing, because it doesn't really give you an indication that part was a dream, or is she's dreaming again. So that didn't explain that very well. But I enjoyed it for what it was. I hope other people enjoyed it for what it was too. Everyone can make up their own mind whether they like it or hate it, and at the end of the day, I'm defending it purely for the fact that I actually enjoyed it. I actually think it was decent acting. It was a decent horror film for the 2000s, much more so than some of the other trash that came out in the 2000s, which was some of the movies that came out in the 2000s that were horror were absolute trash. And that's the truth. And, Nightmare on Elm Street unfortunately got the grunt of that as well, being that a lot of people pan it and say that it's a trash horror film, when in fact, I enjoyed it for what it is. I appreciate it for what it is. And I appreciate the fact that Jackie Earle Haley's version of Fred Kruger was evil, was pure evil, not evil comedic. He was downright evil. He was a child killer. He did inappropriate things with kids. It literally made you feel gross at the fact that, yes, you can feel everything that these teenagers go through, and what he did to Nancy and them, and it makes you feel that, oh my God, it makes you feel much more of an impact that this guy wasn't fucking around. He was serious. He was doing things to these kids. And that really drives it home in this film. Whereas in the original, you're not entirely sure. Yes, he's a child killer, but you're not entirely sure, Did he do anything else? Was there anything else leading towards it why they killed him? It's only ever explained that he was a child killer. But we don't get much more of his past. Whereas in this one, it actually dives a lot further and actually gives you an explanation. Yes, he was a gardener at the preschool where they were. And you can surmise the rest from there. But this is me just defending it purely for the fact that I enjoyed it for what it is. I really just wanted to bring that home, is that there is nothing wrong with the 2010. It actually holds up very well. In actual fact, it actually tells a lot of things much differently, and how people actually are when it comes to this sort of stuff, and not believing their kids and being fucked up, and what someone will do today to that it's all in your head, it's all in your head, it's all in your head, you just need to go to sleep and stuff like that. And it's like, no, that's not the case, people. It actually brings home a lot of truths in today's world, that this is the way people are. Many years into 2024, like, this is how teenagers are. This is how people see things nowadays. Cry wolf, and you get told to shut up, and you're dreaming it. It's all in your head. No one's after you. There's no boogeyman. There's no nothing. When in actuality, this film was trying to tell the parents right from the word get-go that there was something not right, and I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was. And with that, I leave you with that. Don't forget to click the like button, subscribe, and the notification bell to keep up to date. And yes, check out my previous video, which I did, which was on Silent Hill, the Silent Hill 2 drama that's going around at the moment. People, gamers complaining, Angela looks ugly, she's fat, James doesn't look right, Maria doesn't look right. And you know what? I honestly don't care if I get a lot of hate for that. Making that video, I know I see I've got quite a few dislikes, but this is the whole thing about me making those videos, is I'm pointing out facts that gamers today are just downright selfish, or really self-entitled, spoiled little brats that have nothing better to do than bring a video game company down because it doesn't meet their standards. It doesn't meet, this chick doesn't look hot. That's right, because your expectations of video game character means that the girl has to look hot. She has to have big breasts. She has to look beautiful like a supermodel. She has to have beautiful hair. She's got to look exactly like her original counterpart. I mean, really? What are you trying to say to people exactly? That that's your expectation of what a woman has to look like? Is she has to wear skimpy dresses and have big boobs, breasts, should I say, sorry, and conform to looking like a supermodel, looking like a plastic doll? Is that it, gamers? Is that what you guys have reduced yourselves to now? Is that every single person in a video game has to reach your standards of what a woman should look like? I mean, it's a video game character, people. Grow the fuck up. Not everyone has to look like a fucking supermodel. I certainly don't look like a freaking Hollywood movie star that has flawless skin. I have imperfections. So does the real world. But when it comes to a video game character, this is the shit that went on with Mortal Kombat 1, where people were saying that Tanya is ugly as fuck. She's ugly. The same thing with Kitana and Melina. They look ugly because they don't conform to men's standard of what female characters should look like. Because everyone has to be beautiful in a video game. Can't someone just be normal, for Christ's sake? Can't someone just look normal? Angela looks fine in the Silent Hill 2 remake. Maria looks absolutely amazing, so does James. What's next? When Eddie gets revealed, fuck me, when Eddie gets revealed, I bet ya, everyone will be complaining about Oh, they've made Eddie skinny. Oh, no, Eddie's meant to be fat and horrible and look gross. Yeah, because that's what gamers expect these days, is from a company to comply to their standards of what a woman or a man should look like. Like really, this shit just amazes me, and it proves my point. That's why I made that video. Is the fact that I'm still seeing it even today, where these people are just complaining about it. And one of the videos that I watched that I saw today is from a high-profile YouTuber, and I don't care whether I cop shit from the bloke or his little cohorts, but I swear this just made it just. You know what? I'm not even going to talk about it because my video was not about that. I will make another video proving my point about that one, but it was a high-profile YouTuber that proves my point and spoke about Angela in a way that he expected Angela to be hot, and he pointed out in the original she was hot, but this Angela in the remake just looks like a 2000 and an early 2000s post office chick or whatever the fuck he said. I can't honestly. I will have to make a video on that. But he was complaining of the fact that Angela looks ugly, and when really a video game company should be ashamed of themselves for the fact that she looks like that, and it's shocking. I mean, how self-entitled are you, mate? Like, really? Like, I don't understand. I don't care if I cop flack. I really don't, because it just proves my point with these sort of people, is that gamers today expect they're all entitled. They think they're all entitled that video game companies today should conform to their standards. Why? Why do they have to conform to your standards? Why? And that's the question I ask. Why? I think it's pathetic. But anyway, I'll leave it there, people, and I'll see you all with the next one. Thanks for tuning in. Ciao.